just click on the T here for timers, and it explains everything we just looked at. So I'll minimize that now. Back to our link, we're just going to use the TD type timer for this example here. The next option you have is Format View. You have the option for time or seconds. If you have time, you can see here we have the 4 different parameters to define. Starting at the rightmost time here, or the rightmost portion of the colon, it's hundredths of seconds, seconds, minutes, and hours. So those are the 4 different parameters: hundredths of seconds, seconds, minutes, and hours that you can define. So I'll put in 5 seconds here. That's my second parameter. I have a second of 5. And right now that's on the time. So we have those 4 different options to specify hours, minutes, seconds, hundredths of seconds. If I click the drop down here to go to seconds, you'll see now I only can enter in the value here in the format of seconds, I guess. So, for example, if I put in 120 here, 120 seconds, when I click back to time, I'll have 2 minutes here. So I don't want to do that, though. I want to just put it back to 5 seconds here for demonstration purposes. So I have it on 5 seconds here. Again, we have the power up condition, reset on power up. Whenever you're, in this case here, I'm going to want to have it checked. But again, this is just saying whenever you cycle power to the controller, it's going to make sure that it automatically loads this predefined time into the timer. If you're doing examples and tests, it's a good idea to have this checked whenever you do a download and reset, just so you don't have a previous value stuck in the timer. You might start scratching your head as to why the timer isn't counting down, or why it's not reset, or not the value you thought it would be. So in general practice, it's a good idea to have this checkbox select for most of your programs. Obviously, there's situations where you don't want to have that, but just as a general rule of thumb, it's a good idea to have that checkbox selected. So I have my preset power up value of 5 seconds selected in here, checkbox to reset on power up, timer 0, label. I'll hit OK. So the other options that we have to select here, the type on the left here, type current or preset. Those are the 2 options that you have. Select current will show on the variable. It'll show the current time that the counter is counting down. So it'll show 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 as the current time. If you select preset, that allows us to change if we have keypad entry, or just display the preset time. So the preset time I entered in this case was just 5 seconds. So if I select preset here, it's going to always show the 5 seconds on this variable here. It's useful as well if you select keypad entry, if you want the user to be able to change the value of the timer. So you want to make it so they can enter in 10 seconds or 20 seconds, whatever value they desire. They can edit the timer very easily by just selecting the keypad entry. There's no need to use any ladder code or do any sort of time conversion, seconds to whatever. There's no external conversion math required for loading a value into the timer when you do it via the HMI using this keypad entry button. So the last option we have here to select to is the format. Like I was saying before, hours, minutes, seconds, hundredths of seconds. And you can see that's how it's currently being displayed on the HMI. I'll just put it to seconds in this case, because we're only using seconds anyway. So it's just going to be, the format here is really just how it's displayed on the HMI screen. So I have my preset, seconds. I'm not going to select keypad entry here. I have my link to TD0, and I'll hit OK. And we should probably just put one more timer variable on here as well for the current time, just so we can see what's going on. So I'm going to select this square wave for the timer variable again. Come over, draw it out. First thing I want to do is assign a link. We're also going to be monitoring here T0, our 5-second timer. Hit OK. And I'm going to leave it on current this time. And when you have current selected, you see there's also the option for remaining time or elapsed time. Those are what they say. And I'll select for format, in this time, seconds and hundredths of seconds. Hit OK. So just to recap real quick, we have our on button, which we're going to press to activate our timer. When the timer's done, we'll see the light come on, and these two windows as well will show the preset time, which is just going to be 5 seconds, and then also the current time that it's counting down from. Are there any questions on that so far? Okay, if not, we will continue on then. This is all we're going to set up for the HMI portion right now. So we'll go over to the main routine, and we'll start working with the ladder code. It's always a good idea when you're programming in the ladder code here to include comments in your program. VisiLogic makes it relatively easy to do that, to insert a comment. You do that by clicking the yellow dialog box down here to insert comment. So when you click that once, you'll see you have crosshairs, and whatever net you click in, it's just going to insert the window right above it. And I'm just going to call this timer 1, just so we can organize our program a little bit better. And it's always a good practice, like I said, to have this whenever somebody else is looking at your software or trying to figure out what's going on in the program. Comments do help immensely. So in the first net here, we're going to start off by using a direct contact. I'm going to click that from the center pane. You can also just hit F5 if you like to grab that as well. But when you click that, you'll see over here, I can drop that down right on the left-hand portion of the rail. And in this case here, you see we have to link it. We're not going to use next available this time. We're actually going to link it to the button that we created on the HMI. You probably remember it was MB0 because we don't have a whole lot going on in the program here. But another nice feature as well, if you click the drop-down box here, you can see all of the operands that have been in use so far. So if you give your operands good descriptions, good labels, you can see when you click this drop-down box, if you forget what you're using or which you assign to which, it's a good idea to click this drop-down box. And you can see all the different variables that are, whether they're in use with the checkbox, and also if you give them the description, it makes it even easier as well. So you can see all the ones that you've used. If you just click it here, I'm going to click on button 1. It automatically selects that for us. Our MB0 is our on button 1. And then we can just hit OK. So we're saying when we push the button here, we're going to energize this contact and have power flow through it. So we want to have power flow through to energize our timer that we just created. So we're going to use a direct coil here under the center pane. And I'll bring that out and connect it in series with our push button. So again, by default, it opens up to MB. You can see the drop downs we have here, our on button and our light output, but we don't want to use our memory bits here. What we actually want to do is link it to a timer. So when you click this little drop down dialog box right next to MB, you'll see all the different Boolean types you can select, as well as the timer. Memory bits, our X bits, which are our fast memory bits, our system bits, our physical outputs, are also timers. So we'll just use the timer right now. And again, you can drag down here to select our 5-second timer, our T0, and all these settings still remain preserved from when we define them on the HMI. It is all integrated, so it's saved whether you go into the ladder portion or the HMI portion. So our T0, 5-second timer, power up value of 5 has been saved. I'll just click OK. And in our next net below, we're going to insert another direct contact. And this time we are actually going to link it again to our T0. So whenever you use a timer with Unitronics, it's basically at least a two net process. You have to have 2 nets to be able to control the timer. So in our first net here, we'll just recap real quick. When we hold down our push button on the HMI, or on button 1, it's going to energize power through this contact and enable the timer coil here. And once this timer coil counts down from the 5 seconds, there's actually an internal bit associated with each of the timers. So this TD0 bit is going to go high once the timer has finished counting down and has finished its count. So you want to have the condition enabling the timer in one net, and then the net right below, you want to have some sort of result. So when the timer finishes, power is going to flow through this TD0 bit, and in our case here, we're going to use a direct coil and place it right in series, and this time we're going to link it to our light output. So I can drop down, see I use MB0 as my light output 1, hit OK. Now these two nets here are really the only thing that's required to have this type of countdown timer. So I'm going to go ahead and download this now actually. So to download a program, it's the connection menu, and then download and stop download and reset. Before we go there though, I just want to say from the connection menu, the last option you can see is communication and OS. In this menu here, this is where you define the communication link to the controller. I'm using a serial USB adapter, which is installed on COM port number 3, and I'm using a Vision 570 controller, so the maximum baud rate of 115,200 will do well. If you're using any of the standard series controllers, 57K is the max, but any of the enhanced Vision 570, 350, 130, 560, or 1040 controllers, you can use the maximum baud rate. And if I click Get OPLC Information, you can see right now I have a 570 controller connected with the latest operating system 3.1 bracket 30. So I know I have a good communication link, so I'll go back up to the connection menu, download, stop, download, and reset. There's 4 different options you can see here. Download, it will just download the program and leave the controller in run mode. The second option will actually download the program to the controller and then cycle power on the PLC. So it's a good practice to get into doing the stop, download, and reset, especially if you have any type of power-up conditions assigned. You want to do the stop, download, and reset to make sure you have those power-up conditions will get pulsed when the power cycles. Last 2 options, download and burn. It will back up the program to the EEPROM, so if your battery backup dies, for example, you'll still have it burned into the memory. And burn upload project, it just allows somebody to be able to pull the controller's program off if you happen to lose your VLP, Visiologic project file. But in this case, we're just going to do a stop, download, and reset. And it'll just take a minute here. It's probably going to tell you that you have a different program installed already on the PLC. But you know what we're doing here. It's more of just a warning to make sure you don't overwrite something accidentally. You can just hit yes to that. And as well, it's going to warn you that your images are different. I know what I'm doing here, so I'm just going to hit yes. Okay, so I've downloaded my program. I'm going to go into online test mode here so you guys can see what's going on at my desk as well. From the connection menu, you can click online test mode. And once you're in online test mode, you can see here I have red lines. If I go to the view menu and then remote access, I'll actually be able to pull up my PLC screen. So this is what I'm looking at right now. If I hold down my on button, you can see the timer. It starts counting down, and once it reaches the value of 0, it's counted down from 5 seconds. The light turns on. Once I release my finger, the output will go off. And if I hit it again, you'll see it starts counting down from the preset. If I release midpoint, it'll stop. And then when I hit the button again, it'll start counting from the 5 seconds again. So that's the inherent property of the type TD timer. Are there any questions on that?